video response to Snestastic's question of dwindling down the collection. He brought up a lot of good points I'd like to address in this video response. And what I see is actually as a moving trend is that when I see gentlemen like X-File 2708, one very strong example of someone choosing to reduce or refine their collection. I think the real challenge that we're coming to is that we got to ask ourselves how much of it is about collecting and how much of it is about gaming. Well, I felt the collector tendencies in me come out many times. I feel like I need to get this, I want to move to the next, and gathering all of this stuff in. I have a good example I'll show you in a moment. But for me, it's really gotten to the point of that happy medium between games that I will play now and really, hopefully, forever play, and collecting all of those games in one place so I can play them. So here, look at this. Here's Duranix and Red Spot Games, Sturmwind. It's the first Dreamcast game to be released, well, I guess since that clone of... Oh, I'll think of the name at another time. But do I need this for my Dreamcast collection? Well, I don't need it. First off, it's a shooter, so I want it. I have to have it. I want it part of my shooter collection. But I'm not trying to get a complete Dreamcast collection. But as soon as this one came out, of course I wanted to get it. Here's a perfect example of what I mean when I say you're a humane society collector, saving all the lost souls. When this game released for the Genesis, it was the hottest thing, and people were paying its asking price of $100. Now, it's a fun game, it's interesting, obviously dated now since it's released on the Genesis, but I bought this for 1/100th of its original price. So a game like Virtua Racing, which somewhat defined an era of video games, or at least a period, its value has left, at least the popular public. Who wants to play an old, outdated, polygonal racing game? Well, I do, and hopefully a lot of the people who watch this do. But the fact of getting it for $1, just to sit in my bin, and whenever I decide to put it in the Genesis to use it, I love it. I want to save this poor little animal from a lifetime of being shunned and not cared for. Now, I picked this up about 10 years ago, truthfully, and it was a time when I had a lot more time. I had recently broken my leg. I kind of went into a video game hunting craze in my wheelchair and things like that. So I don't quite feel the same about producing, having an animal shelter for video games, but here's a perfect example why. So if I saw this guy out in the wild again for $1, you know, would I buy another copy? I hope not, but I might. So between that line between collecting and gaming, I think the goal is obviously to find that happy medium, that point where you have the games that you want, and really I know in my case I have more games than I have time to play, and I'm sure a lot of YouTubers are the same way, compared to how much physical inventory can I have. I mean, if you are a YouTuber, I promise you that you've heard, or I hope you've heard of LastGamerTube or LastGamer.net, and he's a prolific collector. His gaming, I've never seen a collection like his. Now, either I transform my house into a place to hold my games, or I transform one corner of my house in a place to play games. I'd love to be able to transform my house. I think I make the point that his role as collector and gamer is prolific. Now, I wouldn't consider myself to be prolific, but I am focused on specifically arcade games, shooters. Arcade games and shooters is my focus. So instead of amassing an army of games, Only thing I want to do is just get that SEAL, Sniper, Elite, Army Ranger squad of games. I don't need an army. I don't need every single Madden that has been released. I don't need every single game that's been released. But what I do need is a collection of games I can go to, pop into my system, and play it. Now, for this next part, I'm going to play actually a little bit of Stormwind and address the last and final point. And that point is, well, what is the most important thing when you're collecting games? I mean, do you like having something on the shelf to look at? Are you interested in the condition, the original condition, the pure thing that was released in 1980 or 1995? Are you looking for the quality of the game? Are you looking for a completeness of collection? Are you looking to preserve some aspect of history? What about someone like Luke Morse, who does a wonderful job of restoring games? Or are you interested in just having a game, playing it, and when you're done, you use its value to trade it back in or to trade up on eBay? So here's Stormwind. When you get hit, you lose your current weapon. It takes away your options. You can shoot behind you. At one point, this becomes vulnerable. I played like garbage on my last take, so I'm gonna give it another go. Like, this is a game where I really, from the second that I saw it, the CG, 2D, 3D kind of look, and specifically when I saw this enemy, this boss, is when I said, oh my goodness, I can't believe how good that game looked for Dreamcast. I haven't beaten this part yet. I'm only on level 1-4 of normal. Yikes. It's like not doing too well. Well, if the gameplay's bad, at least we can do is focus on the graphics and how these bosses are animated and the effects. So to conclude my response about trimming down the collection and things along those lines, I heard this from a YouTuber a while back, and I'm going to carry it with me. And that is, all killer and no filler. Here's an example. Those are all the Wii games I have on the left. Those are all my GameCube games. And most of my Xbox games.
お疲れ様でした。